Do you really know why it hurts so much when your team loses? Or why a goal makes you scream as if your life depended on it? It's not just football. It's not an exaggeration. Something much deeper is happening inside your mind, and you're experiencing it in real time every time you watch a match. Even if you don't realize it, even when you're trying to stay calm, what you feel when you watch your team is not an exaggeration. You're not overreacting. In this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening in your brain that makes a match cause you to scream, suffer, get angry, or explode with joy in a matter of seconds. And once you understand it, everything you feel will make a lot more sense, including those moments when it feels like you're losing control without even realizing what's happening inside you. Stopwatch equals 0. Immediate emotional connection. You've definitely experienced this before. The match starts, and you tell yourself, today I'm going to watch calmly. I won't get too emotionally involved. But 10 minutes go by, and you're already cursing the referee, suffering through every attack, and staring at the screen, unable to look away. You get up from the couch. You put your hands on your head. You clench your teeth. You look at the clock as if that could somehow change what's happening. You feel the tension in your body. Your heart starts racing. You get more and more invested. And when the goal comes, you celebrate as if you were the one who scored it. You jump, hug someone, or scream by yourself. But you feel it all the same, with an intensity that even you can't fully explain. As if something inside you has been activated. And in that moment, without even realizing it, you're no longer just watching a match. You're living it. And this is only the beginning. Your team becomes part of who you are. This is where the most important part begins. Your brain doesn't see your team as something external. It doesn't perceive it as something distant. It starts to feel like a part of you. That's why you say, "We won," even though you didn't play a single minute. Because in your mind, that team has already become part of your identity. You're not just watching 11 players chasing a ball. You're watching something that represents who you are, what you feel, and where you belong. That's why every play matters so much. Every pass, every mistake, every goal, it all feels personal. When your team attacks, you're filled with hope. When they lose possession, you feel frustrated. And all of this happens in seconds, without you being able to fully control it. Because you're no longer just a spectator. You're a part of what's happening. When your team wins, you feel proud. You feel on top of the world, as if you had won something too. And when they lose, it's not just a result. It's an emotional blow that hits you right in the chest, as if something inside you had lost as well. You're not just watching a match. You're defending something that feels like yours. Your story, your memories, your people, your colors. All of that is present in that moment. And that's when everything becomes much more intense. Because it's no longer just entertainment. It's identity. And when you touch someone's identity, you're touching something deep. Something your brain can't always fully separate. The difference between your team and you. Dopamine, the anticipation of a goal. This is where something crucial happens that explains why you can't stop watching. You don't need a goal to be scored to feel something intense. In fact, many of the most powerful moments happen before it. Every attack, every cross, every counterattack triggers a feeling of anticipation in your mind, as if something big is about to happen. And that's where one of the most powerful chemicals in your brain comes in. Dopamine. But not in the way most people imagine. It's not the emotion of the goal itself. It's the emotion of, it could happen. It's that moment when the play starts to come together. The defense gets caught out of position, and everything seems to slow down for a second. You feel the tension. You lean forward. You hold your breath. Because your brain is already anticipating a reward. And the most fascinating part is this. Many times, that anticipation creates more intensity than the goal itself. That famous almost affects you too. That shot that just misses. That cross nobody manages to connect with. That play that looked like a certain goal. Stopwatch equals 0. All of it hits you deeply, because what keeps your attention locked in isn't just the outcome, it's the possibility. That's why you can't take your eyes off the match. Because with every play, your brain feels like something is about to explode. And the more uncertain the outcome is, the more intense the feeling becomes. It's as if your mind keeps repeating non-stop. Now it's coming. Now it's coming. Now it's coming. And that constant anticipation is what truly hooks you. Because you don't know when it's going to happen, but you can feel that it's close. And when it finally happens, the explosion is total. But without that waiting, without that tension, without that anticipation, the goal wouldn't feel the same. That's why football is so captivating, even when it seems like nothing is happening. Because in reality, there's always something happening inside your mind. Real stress, Your body enters the game, and now comes something many people don't realize. Watching football isn't just an emotional experience, it's also a completely physical one. Your body enters the game even if you're sitting on the couch without moving. When the match becomes tense, something automatically changes inside you, whether you choose it or not. Your heart starts racing, your breathing becomes shorter, and your muscles begin to tighten. Your hands get sweaty, your jaw clenches, and you feel like you can't relax. It's not your imagination, it's your body entering a real state of alertness. Every dangerous play is perceived as either a threat or an opportunity that must be faced, and even though you can't do anything about it, your body reacts as if you were actually out there on the field. That's why you suddenly find yourself getting up and pacing around the room without even realizing it. You put your hands on your head, you look up at the sky, or repeat certain gestures as if you could somehow influence the outcome. Your body is releasing adrenaline and generating a completely real level of stress. And that stress has a direct effect. It wears you down far more than you realize. An intense match can leave you exhausted, as if you had been running for 90 minutes. Because at a certain point, your brain no longer fully distinguishes between watching the game and living it. And the more important the match is, the more intense this entire physical reaction becomes. The final whistle blows. You sit down in silence, and your body feels heavy and drained. Technically, you didn't do anything, but it feels like you gave it everything you had. That's football acting directly on your body and your entire system. And that's why you experience every second as if you were actually playing that match. Even when you're standing still, your body keeps reacting as if you weren't. And that explains why you end up so exhausted after something you technically only watched. The pain of defeat. And here comes one of the most intense parts of all this. Because losing hurts far more than you might think. It doesn't hurt just because you wanted to win. It hurts because your brain experiences it as a real loss. Throughout the entire match, you've been waiting for something. A reward that would justify all the tension that had built up. Every attack, every play, and every moment kept building greater and greater expectations. And when that reward never arrives, everything suddenly collapses inside you. It's as if something breaks, as if all hope disappears within seconds. The opponent's goal isn't just a goal, it's a direct emotional blow that knocks you off balance. You fall silent. You stare at the screen, trying to process what just happened. Because it wasn't just the match that you lost, you also lost what you were expecting to feel. And that creates a frustration far stronger than it appears to anyone watching from the outside. Your brain had already invested emotion, time, and energy into the outcome you imagined. And when it doesn't happen, the emotional crash becomes much more intense. That's why sometimes you stay upset for hours, even long after the match has ended. It's not an exaggeration, it's a completely human reaction. Because to your brain, it wasn't just a game, it was something that felt like yours. And when you lose something you consider your own, the impact is always greater. The more important the match was, the deeper that emotional impact becomes. That's why there are defeats that are never forgotten, even years later. Because you didn't just lose a result, you lost an emotion you were expecting to experience. And that feeling doesn't disappear when the match ends. It stays with you. It keeps circling through your mind, replaying moments and plays over and over again. And that's why some defeats feel so difficult to leave behind. Even when you know it was just a match, emotion is contagious. Football is almost never experienced alone, and that makes everything much more intense. When you're surrounded by other people who feel the same way, your emotions stop being individual and become something collective. You hear shouting, chants, drums, and little by little, you start syncing up with everything happening around you. Your brain picks up that energy and amplifies it, as if it needs to match the intensity of everyone else. If one person jumps, the movement spreads, and within seconds, thousands are doing the same. If someone shouts, that shout multiplies and washes over you, making you react without even thinking. And in that moment, you're not analyzing what you're doing. You simply feel it and go along with it, because your brain is wired to absorb the emotions of other people. That's why a goal scored in a stadium doesn't feel the same as a goal watched alone in front of a screen. In the stands, everything is more intense, faster, and much harder to control. The emotion surges suddenly and carries you away, like a wave that's impossible to stop. And the most important thing is that it's not just you, it's thousands of people feeling the exact same thing at the same time. That creates an incredibly powerful sense of unity, as if everyone were part of something bigger. Suddenly, you find yourself hugging strangers, shouting alongside people you've never met before. And in that moment, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Everyone is on the same side. That sense of belonging makes everything feel much more intense, because it's no longer just your emotion. It's everyone's emotion flowing through you, and that turns every moment into something much bigger than it would be if you were alone. That's why football experienced in a group feels different, because it amplifies everything you were already feeling. And when that happens, the experience stops being just a match. It becomes something collective, something that is shared, something that spreads from person to person, and something that becomes impossible to forget. There's one more thing that makes all of this even more intense: the presence of a rival. Football doesn't just give you a sense of belonging. It also makes it very clear who's on the other side. And when that division between us and them appears, something automatically changes inside your mind. Your brain simplifies the situation into two opposing sides, as if it were a kind of emotional battle. On one side is what you feel belongs to you. On the other is everything that represents the opposite. And that gives every play much greater weight, because you don't just want to win, you also want the other side to lose. And that difference is crucial, because it intensifies everything you've already been feeling throughout the match. A goal for your team isn't just joy, it's also a feeling of superiority. And a goal against your team isn't just frustration, it's a kind of double blow, because losing hurts, but losing to that rival hurts even more. That's why rivalry matches are experienced in a completely different way, because what's at stake isn't just the result. Your pride is on the line, your identity is on the line, who you are in relation to the other side is on the line, and that makes every moment carry much more emotional weight. Every foul, every argument, every refereeing decision, everything feels more unfair or more important, because everything is amplified by the rivalry. Your brain shifts into a more intense way of thinking, more emotional, less rational, and in that state, everything feels bigger than it really is. That's why these matches stay etched in your memory. They're discussed so much, remembered so often, and felt so deeply, because they're not just matches, they're confrontations loaded with meaning. And when all of that comes together, the emotional intensity reaches its peak. Why you never forget certain matches. There are matches you forget quickly, but there are others that stay etched in your memory forever. And that doesn't happen by chance. It has everything to do with how your memory works. Your brain remembers things much better when they are loaded with intense emotion. The stronger the emotion you felt, the more likely that moment is to stay with you. That's why you might forget what you did a few days ago, but not that goal scored in the final minutes. And it's not just the goal itself, it's everything you felt in that moment. The tension that came before it, the explosion of emotion that came afterward, and everything that surrounded that moment. Your brain records it as something important, something worth keeping, and it stores it with remarkable detail. Where you were, who you were with, what you said, what you did, all of it becomes linked to the emotion of that instant. That's why, when you remember it, you don't just think about it. You feel it all over again. It's like traveling back in time, because emotion acts like glue that locks a memory in place. And the more intense that emotion was, the deeper the memory becomes embedded. On top of that, football has something special. Many of these memories are shared. They don't belong only to you. They belong to a group, to a family, to friends. And that makes them even more powerful, because you don't just remember the match. You remember what you experienced alongside other people. The reactions, the hugs, the screams, all of that becomes part of the memory. That's why some matches turn into personal stories. Moments you can tell over and over again without losing any of their intensity. And every time you tell them, you relive a piece of that experience. Because they're not just memories. They are emotions preserved in time. And they come alive again every time you bring them back. Central revelation. So, what's really happening? Why can something as seemingly simple as a football match feel so enormous? Because football doesn't activate just one thing inside you. It activates many things, all at the same time. While you're watching, you're not just looking, you're feeling, anticipating, reacting, and making connections all at once. It's a constant combination of stimuli that never gives your brain a break. Everything changes within seconds, and your mind has to adapt to every moment. You go from calm to tension, from hope to frustration, without any transition, and that creates an emotional roller coaster that's impossible to ignore. But the most important thing is this: everything happens in real time. No pauses, no distance. You experience every emotion as it happens, and that makes the experience far more intense than many other things in life, because there's no filter, there's no prior analysis, there's no complete control. There is only reaction, there is only emotion, there is only the present moment. And when all of that comes together, the intensity stops being optional. It becomes inevitable. That's why you can't experience football halfway. Either it grabs hold of you, or it simply doesn't matter. But if it does grab hold of you, you feel everything. At the end of the day, Football isn't experienced so intensely just because of what happens on the pitch. It's experienced that way because of everything it awakens inside you while you're watching. Because it's not just a game, it's an experience that connects with something much deeper, with the desire to belong to something, to feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, with the need to feel emotion, to escape the routine for a little while, with that urge to experience something that pulls you out of the ordinary and makes you feel truly present. It's also about sharing, about being with other people and feeling the same thing at the same time, about those moments that need no explanation, yet everyone understands without a single word being spoken. Because there are emotions that only make sense when they are experienced together, and football has the unique ability to create those moments again and again, to bring joy, tension, anger, and euphoria within a matter of minutes, to make you feel deeply, even when you weren't expecting it. That's why it doesn't matter whether it's a small match or a major final. What truly matters is what it awakens inside you, because every person experiences football differently, but everyone feels it intensely. And in a world where so many things happen without leaving a lasting mark, football manages to do something different. It makes you feel something real, something that stays with you, something that, for a moment, feels bigger than everything else. Now I want you to think about a match you could never forget, the one that made you suffer more than it should have, or explode with joy like never before. That moment you still remember in every detail, where you were, who you were with, what you did afterward. Because there is definitely a match like that. We all have one, and no matter how much time passes, that emotion is still there. So tell me in the comments, which match made you feel the most emotion in your entire life? I want to read your story. And if, at any point during this video, you saw yourself in what was being said, then you already know you're not the only one. There are millions of people feeling exactly the same thing. So, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a like, because there is still so much more about this that we haven't even begun to explore.